guys. It's been a while since I've done this, but seeing we're on hiatus briefly for the Fanfic Critic show itself, I figured I would read chapters 6 through 10 of that god-awful fanfic I wrote called I'm the Only One. You might want to turn up the volume because I'm not going to be speaking very loudly because currently it's midnight right now. Probably won't be when this uploads, but you know what I mean. And my sister's sleeping. So we need to be very quiet. Yes, I am sorry that this took a while to post. This is actually a re-recording of this because I actually recorded the original second part the very day I made the first part. But seeing, there's stuff I say in that original part that would make no sense to you guys now, I figured I'd just re-record it and also refresh my memory of the story itself. I'm the Only One is a fanfic that I wrote back in I started it in 2008 and it was finished like in the beginning of 2009. It's a Sweeney Todd fanfic, which is a really stupid fanfic. I would just recommend you guys watch the first part of this reading before watching this. Okay, let's get started with Chapter 6, Mrs. Lovett's Brilliant Plan. Let's start with the author's note. Yes, I'm updating rather early in the morning today. Why, you ask? Because the stupid phone repair company said that they might come between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. Oh, back in the days where I used to wake up early in the morning. Back in the days where I did not work really weird hours of the night. Oh well, it can't be helped. I don't mind being a night owl. That's just how I am. I've never liked getting up early in the morning. Arg. I know that they're not going to come that early in the morning because I live out in the boonies. Actually, if memory serves correctly, they did come early in the morning. But my family insists that we all wake up at the bleeding crack of dawn. All of us. I fell asleep after 12 and had to get up at 5 in the morning. Just my luck, huh? So I only got about 4 to 5 hours of sleep. That's nothing. If past me heard about some of the crap I pulled when it came to not sleeping at all for my job, she would be shocked. I almost went 48 hours without sleep once. Never doing that again. Not a good idea. Especially when you have those stupid 5-hour energy drinks. They don't work. A coffee actually worked, but 5-hour energy drink? No, not at all. Well, sorry for ranting. Enjoy Chapter 6. Geez, I bitch a lot when I was young. Well, I still kind of bitch a lot, but my bitching back then was even worse than it is now. At least I have a reason to bitch about stuff. This is a Sweeney Todd chapter, so I'll be reading my normal voice. Sorry, the cat keeps on rubbing up against my feet. I was barely aware of Mrs. Lovett bringing me down to her shop. My mind is so chaotic right now. I can't believe the judge escaped me. Anthony, that fool. I am snapped out of me thoughts when I see Mrs. Lovett pouring me some gin. Why is the G in gin capitalized? Here, drink it down, she says without making eye contact. I can't blame her, seeing I lost me marbles and started to threaten her life in my maddened state. I take the glass from her and take a swing from it, gritting me teeth as the alcohol burns down me throat. Just say my throat. Now I got a body moldering away upstairs. What do you intend to do about that, eh? She asks me. I study the contents inside me glass. When it's dark, we'll take him to some secret place and bury him. I mutter. Sighing, Mrs. Lovett stands up and walks towards the window. Yeah, we could do that. It's not like he's got any relatives that'll be poking around looking for him. At that very moment, Mrs. Lovett pauses. I look at her in slight curiosity. Seems a downright shame, she says softly. I raise my eyebrows. Shame? I ask her, watching her as she looks back at me. Seems an awful waste. What's his face has such a nice plump frame, you know. She continues as she walks across the room. I can't take my eyes off of her. What is that woman up to? Nor he can't be traced, she mutters. Think of it as a gift. She glances at me. If you get me drift. No, I don't get her bloody drift. Again, she turns away, walking towards the counter. I mean, with the price of meat, what it is, when you get it, if you get it. Oh my god, this is completely ripping off the lyrics from the original songs. Ah, I sigh with acknowledgement, finally understanding what the woman is getting at. Come on up, I know you want to. You know, it's kind of distracting having a kitty rubbing against my feet while I'm trying to read a fanfic. Sorry, the cat's in I want you to pet me mode, but he's being very indecisive about coming up on my lap. Good, you got it, she exclaims, looking, oh, finally. Fine, no. Such a shithead. She exclaims, looking relieved that I finally understood her. I get up as I place my glass of gin down, wearing a smile on my face. My God, Mrs. Lovett is a genius. You know how cats like to knead their paws? Well, this guy's doing that right now, and it tickles. Yes, you're so cute. Mrs. Lovett, I must say that's a charming notion, I say softly as I get closer to her. Well, it does seem a waste, she says as calmly as she can. I can tell that she's holding back her emotion, so I wrap my arm around her and we start to waltz around the room. Mrs. Lovett, how I lived without you all these years, the moment now, I say loudly. Keep it down, son, she says quietly to me. The boy's sleeping on the couch. Ah, yes, Toby, I really wouldn't want the boy to walk in on us as we scheme about popping people into pies. My apologies, love, I say quietly. Wait, did she just blush? Before I can get a good look, Mrs. Lovett hurries over to the stove and takes out on of her pies. Don't you mean one? Younger me, you're missing an E. I approached, curious to see what she's up to. Here we are, hot out of the oven. I stare down at the pie in confusion. What is that? I ask her. She grins at me. It's priest, she replies simply. I get it now. Is it really good? I ask casually. Sir, it's too good at least, and you see, they don't commit sins of the flesh, she points out. I pick up the pie and examine it in my hand. Awful lot of fat. Only where it's sat, she replies. I try my hardest not to laugh at her humor. Haven't you got poet? I ask her. She shakes her head. No, you see, the trouble with poet is how do you know it's deceased, so you should stick to priest. Smiling slightly, I take a bite of the pie. Wow, it's not that bad. I don't see why Mrs. Lovett barely gets any customers. Well, that'll change soon enough with her new idea for the meat supply. Heavenly, I say after I swallow. Mrs. Lovett cracks up laughing. Glad you like it, sir. Unfortunately, I only get it on Sundays. Well, I will admit that was clever that I had dialogue from the original play lyrics and not, the movie version, which had a lot of that cut out. Isn't that right, Cat? Bloody hell, Mrs. Lovett is as mad as I am. Lawyer sounds good, I say casually. Yes, but it's for a price. So order something else because no one should swallow it twice. Anything that's lean. Well, if you're British and lawyer, you might enjoy Royal Marine, she answers. I watch with some amusement when she makes a face, though of course it tastes of wherever it's been. Yuck. I'm getting really excited. Why? Have you any beetle? I demand playfully. Next week, so I'm told. She pulls me down to her level. Beetle isn't bad till you smelled it and noticed how well it's been greased. Stick to priest, she whispers, giving me a wide grin. I watch her. She goes back to her and pulls out another pie from her oven. Repetitive much? What is that? It's Fop. Finds in the shop. Fop. Where does she come up with all these names? I then notice that she's staring out of the shop window to the people on the streets. Is politician so oily have one? She asks as she hands me the pie. Put it on a bun, I say simply. She gives me a confused look. Well, you never know when it's going to run. She chuckles at my statement. Try the fryer. It's drier when fried, she says as she crosses the room. I pick up a butcher knife and examine it. No, the clergy is too mealy. Then actor, dear, it's compactor. I smile as I approach her. But always arrives overdone. I then pin her against the wall and hold the butcher's knife against her throat. I'll come again when you have judge on the menu, I say softly. Despite the position she's in, she smiles at me playfully. Well, I don't have judge yet. However, I do want the next best thing. And what would that be? I ask her with raised eyebrows. Executioner, she answers, grinning at her response. I pull the blade away from her neck and we start to dance about the shop. We'll take the customers we can get, my love, I say to her as we dance. She pulls me towards the window and opens the curtains. We'll serve everyone to everyone, she says as she scans the crowd. I smile as I do the same. Sooner or later, the judge and the beadle will be juicy meat pies, and I intend on eating them with great satisfaction. Well, that was a waste of time. And I will admit, I have read my first Sweeney Todd story, and this story borrowed a lot from that. Kind of. It was stupid. That one was better, but it was still bad. Okay, the story is based on the movie versions of the characters. I just thought it'd be fun to use some of the original lyrics to a little priest to shake things up a bit. Please review and you'll have some priest for yourself. So is younger me implying that I'm going to go out and kill a priest and serve it to my readers? Okay, chapter 7 is called Frustrations. Sorry for the slight delay. I was stumped about what to do for this chapter. Okay then, Mrs. Lovett. I'll be reading this chapter in Susan's voice. You would think I'd be happier seeing business is doing so well now that I got a new meat supply. However, I've been feeling more irritated. Why, you may ask? It's because of that infuriating man, Mr. Todd. He rarely socializes with me and Toby. I can't say a bad thing about that 2 time we Lucy with him around. To top it off, he doesn't seem to notice me feelings for him. He's always mean and inconsiderate, and he always seems to say things that hurt me. The last time he was nice was when I came up with that bleeding human meat pie scheme. Why do I bother? Mom, we're out of pies, my boy says to me, interrupting my thoughts. God bless that boy. I need a distraction right now. And as I said in the first part, I know that I'm not reading all the typos and stuff, but that's because it would get very annoying after a while. So I'm just reading it the best I can with how it should have been written without the bleating accent. Alright, Toby, tend to the customers while I get more pies, I say to him as I enter the shop's interior. I go down to the bakehouse, cursing with each step I take. I have to remember that I'm not that young anymore. As I enter the bakehouse, I notice the pile of bodies underneath the trap chute that leads to Mr. Todd's shop. Bugger. There's 4 of them. I guess I'll be busy tonight. Sighing, I get to the last batch of pies out of the oven. At least I can close the belly for once. Toby, I call out as I come outside. Start to get the kitchen ready for cleaning. This is our last batch of pies. The boy nods and hurries into the shop. I'm so proud of my boy. He's such a hard worker, unlike his father, who was a lazy jerk. Sure, the term jerk was around back in the 1800s. I'm so glad that Toby doesn't remember him. So I serve the last of the pies and wait until the crowd leaves before I start to clean up. It takes Toby and myself 2 hours to clean up the shop. This is the half an hour it took before Mr. Todd came along. After everything's done, I cook dinner. You get a plate set while I bring Mr. Todd his dinner, I say to the boy. He wears a very slight scowl on his face, but he does what he's told. I know that he doesn't fancy Mr. Todd much. If I wasn't so madly in love with a man, I'd probably feel the same way at times. So I take the tray with Mr. Todd's food and head up to his shop. To no surprise, I see him staring out the window, brooding away as always. Brought your dinner, Mr. Todd, I say as I set the tray down on his desk. He turns and looks at me with those dreadfully sexy black eyes. Does the term sexy exist? I smile at him and turn quickly so he won't see my blush. Although I don't think he'd notice anyway. You know, I bet if I pranced around London naked, he would still not notice. I quickly leave his shop, figuring that he probably want me to do so, as he always does. Ever since the judge escaped, he's become colder. It drives me nuts. I take my seat at the table, and Toby and I start to eat dinner in silence. After tucking Toby in for bed, I head down to the bakehouse and start me butchering for tomorrow's rush. The first body is thankfully a skinny bloke. I remove his cloths, and check them for money. After finding his coin purse and removing the money from it, I toss it into the oven's fire with the rest of his clothes. I keep on missing and reading the word clothes, so it says cloths. Bloody hell. I take my anger out by hacking off his limbs, getting blood all over me. Thankfully, the dress I'm wearing is black. It takes me 30 minutes to get him completely cut up. After throwing the useless parts into the oven to be bed, I put the rest of the meat into the grinder. Now, for the next party. This is going to be one long night. Now that the butchering's all done and the meat's all stored, I can finally change my clothes. and start washing Mr. Toad's laundry on my own. I take off the outfit I'm wearing and change into my cleaning clothes. Okay, the lack of ease in the word clothes is really going to piss me off. I fill up the tub with hot water and get to work. About an hour later, everything's clean. I bring the laundry down to the bakehouse to be dried by the oven's heat. After practically crawling back up the stairs, I close the bakehouse door. When I go to the parlor, I pause in shock when I see Mr. Todd sitting on the couch. He notices my presence right away. "Good evening, Mrs. Lovett," he says in his monotone voice. "Evening," I manage to say. "Want some gin?" I ask. He nods silently. I get us 2 glasses and get the bottle out, sighing when I see that it's 3/4 empty. Toby, that little alcoholic. "So, what brings you down here tonight?" I ask Mr. Todd as I hand him his drink. "I wanted to talk with you," he answers. I try to hide my surprise as I sit beside him. "Now, why on earth would you want to talk to me?" "About what?" I ask out of curiosity. "About Lucy, over the love of God." "When did she leave and move down to Main Street?" I stare straight ahead at the fire so he won't see the anger in my eyes. "She moved immediately after you were shipped off," I answer as calmly as I can. Mr. Todd grunts softly, guzzling his gin. After he puts it down on the table, he gets up and leaves. Oh, how nice of him. He actually wanted to talk to me to get information on why his Lucy is a bitch. Why is the B in bitch capitalized? And he's too blind to see it. I am so furious right now. That inconsiderate man, oh bollocks, what do I expect? He doesn't want to believe that his wife is a bleeding arse. What? I guess I can't blame him, but the sooner he accepts the truth, the better. Because I don't know how much longer I can play nice with Lucy. Author's note. I hate this chapter. The only good thing about it is Mrs. Lovett's rants. Sorry for the downing folks, but I am entitled. Do you not know the word entitled? To criticize my work if necessary, please review. Well, that was painful. Let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 8 is called Play Me a Song, Mrs. Lovett. Where did I come up with these chapter titles? Author's note. Okay, this chapter is a somewhat fluffy chapter between our favorite barber and his lovely baker. Enjoy. Sweeney Todd. I paced up in my shop, thinking about the information that I had just received from Mrs. Lovett. My Lucy moved immediately. Why would she do that? This apartment is very suitable for a small family. I shake my head slightly before heading for my desk and picking up the picture of Ben, Lucy, and Joanna. I noticed something that I didn't notice before. She doesn't look very happy in the photo. Her smile seems fake versus the very happy smile on Ben's face. Puzzled, I put the picture down. Why would she be upset? If I remember correctly, that was one of our best days of our marriage. Wait, what's that sound? I pause all of my thoughts and listen carefully. I hear faint piano music from below. Not this cliche. A lot of the fanfics that I used to like when I was obsessed with Sweeney Todd back in my high school into college years had a lot of cliche of Mrs. Lovett playing a piano and Sweeney listening in on it, and I happen to be one of those authors who had that stupid cliche in it. My God. Some of those fanfics, I bet if I read them now, I would probably not like them. It bears a familiar melody. Out of curiosity, I left my shop and headed down to the pie shop. Quietly, I open the door and go inside. I go to the entrance and watch Mrs. Lovett play her piano. It's a sad melody that she's playing. Quietly, I take a step into the room. She doesn't seem to notice my presence. Her attention is directly on playing the old piano. Frankly, I always thought that the piano was just for decoration when I was Ben. I've never seen or heard it being played before by either Mrs. Lovett or Albert. I get directly behind the woman as she plays. Judging by how her hands are working on the keys, it seems to me that she's been playing the piano for years. As she continues to play, I take a seat on the armchair. I should say in the armchair, and watch her play. When she finishes the current song, she flips through the music book and starts to play a livelier, happy song. I remember this tune. It was quite popular when I was a boy. I close my eyes, allowing my mind to become entranced by the melody. My mom was a pianist, and she would play this tune all the time for me and my father. She was a sweet woman. Unfortunately, she died when I was 12. Mrs. Lovett finishes the song and reaches for her glass of gin. When she sees that it's empty, she gets up and practically jumps when she sees me watching her. I feel bad for giving her a fright as I watch her place her hand on her heaving chest. Bloody hell, Mr. Todd, are you trying to give me a heart attack? She asks quietly, staring down at me with her chestnut eyes. My apologies, I say to her, getting up. She relaxes slightly. Well, be more aware next time, dear. I'm not that young anymore, you know. She says as she takes the bottle of gin and pours herself a glass. Want some? She asks me. I nod and I watch her pour another glass. Sorry if I woke you, Mr. Todd. I was already awake, I reply. She hands me the glass and takes a seat on the couch. Maybe it is on the couch. Whatever. I sit beside her and take a sip of the burning liquid. It is a burning liquid. It's disgusting. It tastes okay in orange juice, but never drink it by itself. It's nasty. You're good at playing the piano, I say after a while. She glances at me, wearing that friendly and shy smile that she always has on her face. Thank you, dear. Been playing for years now. Started to play after me Albert croaked. Croaked, that's a good one. I don't think the term croak. When did your Albert die? I asked her softly. 10 years ago, about a month after Toby was born. She answered, Of course, when she needs the man the most, that's when he decides to die on her. I'm sorry to hear that, I say to her. She snorts. Don't be. It was for the best, I suppose. See, he did squat anyway. I silently agree with her. It wasn't really her choice when it came to marrying that pig. Her family forced it upon her for the money. When they found out that Albert wasn't as wealthy as they thought, they all got up and moved to the other side of England. Filth, a lot of them. How long have you been watching me play, Mr. Todd? She asked me, pulling me out of my thoughts. 10 minutes or so, I reply. I notice that she looks embarrassed. I don't, why? I think you're missing a word, younger me. What word would that be? No. I don't know why she would be, seeing she's excellent at playing that thing. Well, I'll be quieter next time for you, she says quickly. No, I interrupt. I like hearing you play. She looks shocked. I like how I keep on switching between past and present tense. Thank you, Mr. Todd. I'm glad you like it. Why were you playing, if I may ask? Is she not allowed to play a piano? She's quiet for a moment, biting her lip unsurely. I was playing to relieve some stress, she answered. I see what she means. I bet doing all that butchering and cooking is very stressful. Also, she adds, it helps me relax and unwind. I see, I say quietly before finishing my gin. Mrs. Lovett places her empty glass down and gets up, stretching slightly. Well, I should be off, she says. I get up and place my hand on her shoulder. She tenses up briefly before relaxing again. Can you play that first song again before you go to bed? I ask her. She looks at me with some hesitation before smiling kindly at me. Of course, dearie, have a seat, she says softly. I sit down and watch her as she sits at the piano bench. She flips through the book until she finds the proper tune. Gracefully, she starts to play the sad song at her fingertips. I'm curious to why she was playing the song earlier. Is she upset about something? When she talks to me, she seems cheerful enough. However, when I study her face as she plays, I can read the sadness radiating off of her. I don't know what she's sad about, but I'm guessing that it has something to do with her being lonely. I get how she feels, seeing I feel lonely too. What else could it be if it's not loneliness? I like how I have another stereotype where Mr. Todd's a complete dumbass and oblivious to Mrs. Lovett's love. Well, he's half right, folks. I am sorry for the slight delay on updating today. I had things to do that got in the way. Please review. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter. This chapter is called The Marketplace Showdown, a Mrs. Lovett chapter. So let's read the author's note. Thank you all for the reviews. It's greatly appreciated. This chapter is my favorite so far. Hopefully you'll all agree. So I have the abbreviation for you all, which is you'll, and then I have the word all after that. So if you take out the abbreviation, it technically says you all agree. I was such a dumbass when I was younger. Let's read. I had the displeasure of bumping into that little nit in the marketplace one Sunday afternoon. I was out buying normal meat to mix in with my new supply when I saw her approaching me. Bloody hell, what does she want? Why do I keep on switching between past tense and present tense? Because sometimes the chapters will start off like Mrs. Levitt's telling a story from the past, and other times she'll speak her thoughts as if she's breaking the fourth wall, or it's happening right then and there. Eleanor, what a pleasant surprise, she says to me. Can someone please shoot me? Hello, Lucy, I reply flatly. I go to pass her, but she stops by blocking my way. What's the rush, old friend? Old friend? I was never her friend. I only tolerated her because Ben was head over heels for her. Unfortunately, Mr. Todd isn't any different. I just need to get back to my shop, that's all. I say as pleasantly as I can muster. Oh, but I thought you were closed today, Eleanor, saying it's Sunday. Bollocks. What do you want, Lucy? I ask her impatiently. She knows for a fact that I hate her, and I know she's trying to pick a fight with me. She smiles that phony, stuck-up smile of hers. I wanted to congratulate you on the success of your business, Eleanor. Yeah. I really believe that's Smeg. Smeg is the British term for shit. But you don't have your bloody author's note in the middle of the bloody story. Just say at the end of the story what the meaning of Smeg is. Anyone who's British or anyone who is interested in learning British will look it up and find out the definition of it themselves. That was a tongue twister. I'm trying to be as quiet as possible too. Apologies. Thank you, Lucy. I'm happy that you think I'm happy. Again, I try to leave, but she blocks me yet again. How's that Sweeney Todd fellow doing? That Sweeney Todd fellow? Ooh, she's asking for it. How dare you? I growl. She looks confused. What did I do, dear friend? She asks me innocently. I am seriously going to strangle that pretty little megaphess. She has some nerve to bring him up in the manner she just did. You know exactly what you did, you double-crossing trump. I snarl angrily. She just smiles at me smugly. Now, Eleanor, Sweeney Todd himself. He's that Benjamin Barker's dead. What does that matter, Lucy? I yell angrily. He escaped from prison so he could return to you. He did it because he loves you. And here you are speaking of him like he's some ordinary bloke you've never met before. He is your husband. Who's my husband? She interrupts. And he has changed too much for my liking. I glare at this unbelievable, ungrateful admit. If I was in your shoes, dear, I wouldn't care by how much he's changed. I mean, what do you expect? He's been suffering in Australia for 15 of his bleeding, 15 what? 15 bananas, 15 apricots, 15 cats, say 15 years. I can't believe that this was written only a few months before I started the Fanfic Critic show. That would change anyone. All she does is shrug. Well, you're a fool, Eleanor. I didn't cry for him either because he was a fool too. I accepted what Judge Tobin Beetle Lambert had to offer and went for it. I will soon marry the Beetle and Johanna will soon marry the Judge. I stare at her in disbelief. The Judge will marry Joanna. Bloody hell. He's old enough to be her grandfather, for Bate's sake. You never loved Ben, did you? I asked her quietly. No, he was nice and old, but he was too naive and wasn't that wealthy. My parents wanted me to marry him because he had the potential of being wealthy because of his success as a barber. Of course, the foolish man got shipped off and came back to be some brooding sap. Did she just call him a brooding sap? Man, Mrs. Lovett, it's quite obvious that Lucy is trolling you. The best way to deal with trolls is to not feed them. Besides, I'm better off without him, Eleanor, so you can do whatever slutty things you want to do with him when you get back to your shop. She says this as she starts to turn. This is the moment where I snap. I'm not going to allow her insults to Mr. Todd go unpunished. I yell as I lunge for her, but someone grabs me from behind. Let me go, I yell at whoever's holding me. I elbow and kick the culprit, but he doesn't let up. I see Lucy turn and look darkly at the person holding me. I thought that I said that I never wanted to see your face again, Mr. Sweeney Todd. I freeze completely, horror building up inside of me. I'm sorry for the behavior of my landlady, Lucy. I won't let it happen again. Bollocks. There's going to be hell to pay. He probably just saw the tail end of that incident with me lunging for that little nit. She continues to keep her cold stare at him, no love at all in her eyes. Why can't he see it? Leave, Sweeney Todd, she says flatly, and take your trash with you. Trash? I'm not the one who slept with every single fop in London. I yell furiously at Lucy's retreating form. I swear I can see that little bitch smiling as she turns the corner. Before I know it, I'm staring at I'm staring up at Mr. Todd's infuriated black eyes. Mr. Todd, I smack. I saw lots of stars when he striked me with his hand. I should just say slapped. If his other hand hadn't been holding me still, I probably would have thrown straight to the ground. He firmly grips me with both hands, shaking me slightly to get me to look at him. I'm scared for my life right now. If you ever try to hurt my Lucy again, I will personally make you the next filling in those blasted meat pies. Do you understand? He growls. I weakly nod, trembling in both fear and sadness. Keeping his grip on my arm, he drags me out of the marketplace. On my way back to Fleet Street, my mind is full of jumbled emotions. I can't believe he hit me. I can't believe it. Even after how cold his Lucy was to him. If only he had heard what she had said that caused me to snap the way I did. Hey, I bet that if he did, he'd still blame me. I barely noticed or cat that Mr. Todd has greatly loosened his iron grip on my arm. I noticed him glancing down at me, but I dare not look up at those harsh eyes. The second we reach the pie shop, I break myself free from his grasp and hurry inside of the shop, practically running into Toby as I run up to my room. In there, I really saw my sorrow into the pillow with muffled cries. Office note. Oh, I feel so bad for Mrs. Lovett. I'm sorry for my cruelty to my characters, but it had to be done. Please review. Honey, if you think this is being cruel to your characters, wait until you see what you've done to the fanfic critic and Susan. Especially Susan. Alright, let's move on to the final chapter in this part, which is a Sweeney Todd chapter called Anger Then Guilt. Oh my god, I think this completely rehashes the last chapter, but it's from Sweeney's point of view. And if memory serves, the chapter after that also rehashes the chapter 9. I normally don't do 2 chapters a day, but I felt the great urge to do another chapter. Enjoy. No alcohol for kiddies. At first, I was mad as hell at Mrs. Love for attempting to hurt Lucy. I could see them talking from the distance, though I couldn't hear them. So, does Sweeney Todd have, like, Lucy and Mrs. Lovett radar whenever they're fighting with each other, and he just randomly shows up at where they're fighting with each other or something? Lucy had a smug smile on her face, and Mrs. Lovett looked like she was going to murder the woman. When Lucy turned, that's when Mrs. Lovett went to lunge for her. I ran over and quickly grabbed the woman from behind. Let me go, she yelled, kicking me and elbowing me. It's hard, but I managed to control her. I see Lucy turn and stare at me coldly, breaking my heart. I thought I said that I never wanted to see your face again, Mr. Sweeney Todd. She says coldly to me. I feel Mrs. Lovett freeze completely in my arms when Lucy speaks my name. I'm sorry for the behavior of my landlady, Lucy. I won't let it happen again, I hear myself say, hoping that she'll smile pleasantly at me like she used to. Instead, she keeps her glare on me. Leave, Sweeney Todd, she says softly, glaring at Mrs. Lovett. And take your trash with you. Trash? I'm not the one who slept with every fop in London. Mrs. Lovett yells, thrashing to get out of my grasp. To get to Lucy, that's enough. I quickly turn Mrs. Lovett around so she's facing me. The anger in her eyes is quickly replaced by shock and fear. Mr. Todd, I smack. Without being fully aware of it, I harshly slapped Mrs. Lovett across the face. She stumbles. Okay, stop switching between past tense and present tense. She stumbles slightly, looking rather dazed and shocked. I shake her until she looks up at me. If you ever attempt to harm my Lucy again, I will personally make you the next filling of those blasted meat pies. Do you understand? I ask in a low growl. She nods quickly, trembling like a leaf. I keep my grip on her arm and I drag her with me back to Fleet Street. On the way back to Fleet Street, I keep on thinking about Lucy's coldness towards me. Even before this incident, she was very cold acting. Why? I thought that she loved me. Suddenly, I feel guilty about my actions towards Mrs. Lovett. Even though I couldn't hear what was being said between the two of them, it appeared that Lucy was trying to piss off Mrs. Lovett. I glanced at the woman by my side. She stared straight ahead, wearing every emotion she could possibly feel on her face right now. The guilt in my heart worsens when I see how red her face is from where I'd hit her. I have never struck a woman prior to this. I promised myself that I would never after how I saw Albert Lovett treat his wife. Subconsciously, I loosened my grip on Mrs. Lovett's arm. I want to say something, but not here in the streets. When we get to the pie shop, Mrs. Lovett quickly pulls away from me and disappears inside of the shop. When I go to follow her, her son abruptly stops me, wearing the angriest look on his face. Where do you think you're going? He asks, or more like snarls. Then have it say he snarled. I need to have a word with your mom, I say to him, trying to get by. He laughs angrily, shoving me back. Oh, I don't think so, sir. I look at him desperately. Toby, please, let me talk to her, I beg. He keeps his glare at me. I think it'd be best that if you went back up to your shop, he says coldly. Well, I'm obviously not going to win this one, so I turn and go up to my shop. I'll just have to talk to her when her little bodyguard goes to sleep. I quietly head down the pie shop later when it's late. I know where Mrs. Lovett will be, down in the bakehouse to grind the killings from my work today. To no surprise, the bakehouse door is open. I head down the steep stairs. Geez, there's so many steps. I don't think Sweeney Todd says geez. This must be hell for her. Why can you keep on capitalizing the H in hell? I know it's a place, but it's being used as a curse word. You don't need to capitalize the H. For her to walk up and down them all day. When I get downstairs, I walk through the open door to watch Mrs. Lovett tackle the body relentlessly. I see the blood squirt up with every hack she makes. I know that she's taking out her frustrations on the body. Gee, you think? When she finishes, I jump. When I see her angrily fling the butcher's knife across the room, I hear her sigh before turning in my direction. Both of us don't move when we make eye contact. When I look over, she's completely covered in blood. It's on her face, her cloths, her clothes, her arms, even in her hair. Shouldn't it say and even in her hair? See, you don't have any other commas after that? This is why the fanfiction critic will always be better than me, because she actually has a B in English and knows this crap. Her eyes are wide and are moist. Yes, she had been crying. Stop switching between past tense and present. I'm crying earlier. I take a step closer to her, watching her tense up considerably. I can't blame her for our uneasiness, seeing I threatened to bake her into pies earlier that day. Jackass. I want to have a word with you, I say to her. All right, she mutters. Her voice is very shaky. I'll talk to you when you're done. I'll be waiting in the parlor, I say before I turn and leave her alone again. I want some time to think about what I'm going to say to her. Also, I'm hoping that she'll be calmer when she finishes her work. I sit in the parlor and wait patiently. After 35 minutes, Mrs. Lovett finally enters the room. She's still afraid, but she seems to be hiding it better. I'm a bit shocked when she sits on the same couch as me. However, she made sure that there is as much distance between us as possible. All right, Mrs. Todd, she says quietly. What do you want to talk about? I look at her, but she doesn't make eye contact. She just stares off into the distance. What did Lucy say that got you so furious at her? Dwat, 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 cliffhanger. Will Mr. Todd actually hear Mrs. Lovett out? Or will he be all mean and broody? Find out tomorrow. I'll give you a hint if you review. Oh, jeez, I'm so glad I don't do that with my web show. I'm not going to do a new episode until you put a comment on my video. Okay. See you guys all in the next part. Have a good night.